Hey church, I'm Colleen and I'm honored to share with you today as we continue in our Corinthians devotional series. Today we're going to be reading out of 1 Corinthians chapter 13, verses 12 through 15. I'd encourage you to take a minute and go read that whole chapter because this feels a little out of context if you don't know the whole scripture. So take a minute and go read 1 Corinthians 3 and we'll come back and read 1 Corinthians 3, verses 12 through 15. Let's read it together. It says this, and anyone who builds on that foundation may use a variety of materials, gold, silver, jewels, wood, hay, or straw. But on the judgment day, fire will reveal what kind of work each builder has done. The fire will show if a person's work has any value. If the work survives, that builder will receive a reward. But if the work is burned up, the builder will suffer great loss. The builder will be saved, but like someone barely escaping through a wall of flames. Wow, if I'm being honest, this is a very challenging scripture and one that I had to wrestle with a lot this week. You see, we recognize as believers that salvation is by faith alone, not by our good works. It is not a works-based salvation. Salvation was finished at the cross of Jesus Christ. There is nothing we can add to our salvation but the sin that makes it necessary. But this scripture tells us that we are held accountable for some part of our works, and that is that our life has value, that Christ saved us on purpose for a purpose. And what we do with our life matters. It matters in eternity. And so there's three thoughts I want to share with you today. The first is the foundation. You know, I don't know if you've ever built something. My husband and I built a house, and before we built on it, we had to have the foundation checked. It's really important that that foundation is strong and it's steadfast. And so I want to ask you today, what are you building on the foundation of? Our foundation must be Christ alone. You know, in context in verse 10 through 11, it talks about this, that this foundation is Jesus Christ. All Christians stand on that foundation, Jesus Christ alone, nothing else added to it. But what do we build on that foundation? Salvation is not just fire insurance or a get out of jail free card. We are called to build upon this foundation. Our life matters. It has eternal impact. So first, let's make sure that our foundation is Christ alone. But God has entrusted us now with the material. The foundation is Christ, but God gives us material to build upon. He's giving you gifts and talents, opportunities. And Paul lists out different materials. Some are valuable, the first three, like gold, silver, and jewels, and some are very common, like hay, wood, and straw. But this isn't about talent or ability, wealth. It's about stewardship. It's about what you do with what you've been given. So what are you doing with what God has placed in your hands? Are we bringing our best to the foundation of Christ to build upon? Are we building with gold, silver, and jewels, or hay, wood, and straw? You know, I think it's really interesting when you study this, that those first three materials are the materials that were used in the building of the temple. And that's not by accident. Paul is teaching us that we are God's temple. We are building God's church here on earth. We are building up in people what God has for us. And so I just want to encourage you in context in verse 16, it talks about us being that temple. So are we using things that are cheap and common? Are we living life in such a way that the methods are easy and simple? You know, it made me think about the three little pigs, how one built with straw and one built with bricks. And though they both looked firm, when the fire came or when the wind blew, one got knocked over. You know, our life should bear fruit. The materials we use, the method that we do it, we should make sacrifices. We should live a difficult, challenging life to do hard things. You know, we say at the Conti family that we do hard things. We don't always take the easy way out. We make sacrifices that might seem difficult for the benefit of others. But I know and I love that what God requires, He provides. What God requires from you, what He asks of you to build your life on, He provides those materials. He helps equip you with those talents. And what He provides, He will reward. The last one is the test, because the truth is we will one day all stand before God and give an account for the lives that we have built. And Paul says that our building will be tested with fire. The materials, the methods, if we've done it cheaply or quickly or easily or taken shortcuts, or if we've put forth effort, made sacrifices, lived out of obedience. You know, this is not a question of salvation. All the workers are saved, but what we build will either be burnt up or it will last. We will still be saved, but maybe we will have wasted our life if we haven't used and lived everything to the fullest to serve and honor God. I know this is a heavy word, but just a real quick thought for you today that our life matters. Let's not waste it. Let's make the most of every opportunity. You know, I think about Matthew 25 and those talents. The men thought differently based on who they knew our God was. Our God is a righteous judge and he loves us, but we don't serve out of begrudgingly or out of frustration, but with joy. And so I want to challenge you today. First question is Christ your foundation? Is Christ your foundation? Are you building your life on anything other than Christ? And then the second is, how are you going to stand that test? What materials, what methods, what kind of life are you building? One out of honor and obedience. And here's a practice test for you, right here, right now, something you can do today. Maybe these are practices and ways that you can test the life that you're building. You know, maybe you want to fast. Remove things from the life that are easy, that you put into your world. Maybe you remove those things. Maybe generosity. Maybe you share with others what would be easy to keep to yourself. Maybe you show hospitality and open your home to others. Maybe you step out into an uncomfortable serving opportunity. I don't know what that looks like for you, but where your treasure is, there your heart will be. If you are giving God your best, don't stress. God provided it, and he will reward what he requires from you. So it's just an honor to build alongside of you. Let's continue building our lives upon the foundation of Jesus, building from a firm foundation and building a life that leads into eternity for others. Have a great day.